Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my April Magical Readathon Spring Equinox 2022 TBR. If you watched my video on Friday, my TBR-opoly, I did say in that video that I'm not really having a TBR for April, and that is because April is just kind of crazy for me. If you can't tell, I am getting over a cold as we speak, and my friend's wedding, of which I am the bridesmaid, is at the end of the month. It's literally May 1st, and so there's a lot of stuff that is going to be taking place in my life leading up to that. I will be setting a TBR for the Magical Readathon, which takes place in the entire month of April. G has said that if you need more time, you can take more time, so I am planning on trying to read as many of these books in the month of April, but knowing that probably a few of them will roll over into May. I will also try to vlog my experience of reading for these, but they're probably going to be 2-week reading vlogs instead of weekly reading vlogs, just because of how crazy things are. In order for me to go into this readathon, I had to pick a calling, and so my character is a mind walker, which is a specific guild, and when I was looking into the callings, I decided to choose the one calling that only mind walkers can do, which is, I believe it's called the Dream Walker. And so it basically means you can go into people's dreams and kind of help them with issues or problems or help them figure things out. It sounds really cool, and I'm really excited to study the classes that I need to study for it. In order to get this calling, I have to take 7 classes in the spring, and I think it was like 8 in the fall. So I will be going over the 7 books that I'll be reading over the next month or two in order to pass my classes for the spring. Of course, all of these books are subject to change, because if I decide to DNF or if I decide that I want to read something different, that might happen. But as of this moment, this is what I'm planning on reading. So first up, I have to take astronomy, and for this I have to read a book that is on the top of my TBR, and so for this I chose to read Bunny by Mona Awad. So I've been looking at this book for a while now, and finally a friend came to me and was like, hey, I really want to read it, would you want to read it with me? And I was like, yes, I've been pushing it off for a while because I'm just kind of nervous about it. So we decided to pick it up, and we're going to be reading it in the month of April. I'll be listening to the audiobook for this. I have sampled it, and I did like the narrator's voice from what I could hear, so I am very excited to continue on and learn more about this story. But from what I have learned, it is about this girl who is in this college, and there are these other girls who are like a group of friends, kind of Mean Girls-esque is what I've learned, but they all call each other Bunny. And through some way, this girl that we're following becomes one of them and becomes part of their group, and apparently things go really weird and really wrong, and I'm just really excited to figure out what that actually means finally. The second class that I had to take was Alchemy, and for that class I had to read a book that contained a romance. And so for this I'm going to be reading The House of Always, which is my book club's book for the month, and this is definitely a good choice because there's definitely some romance for the main group, and then there are also some side romances as well. This is the 4th book in the Ruin of Kings series, so I really can't go into what this one is about, but Ruin of Kings, we are following a boy named Kieran. He finds out that he was actually like the bastard son of a ruling family, and you're following him in 2 different timelines, and it is such an interesting narrative style because there's like a narrator going throughout who puts footnotes and comments throughout the whole entire writing, and it is really about Kieran's life through all of the books, but they do change slightly because of course things have to happen and things go down. I really loved book 1 and 2, and I was kind of tolerant of book 3, so I'm hoping that the things that I loved in book 1 and 2 will make more of an appearance in this one, and it will just be back to what I loved. For Art of Illusions, I had to read a book with a trope that I like, and so I decided to pick up The Dragon Reborn, which has the trope Chosen One. I know that like that is a controversial trope, but I love it. I am a huge fan of chosen ones being picked to do the thing that they're supposed to do. And what's really fun about the Wheel of Time is the whole entire chosen one is twisted slightly because, especially for the first book, you don't know exactly who the chosen one is. It's down to 3 different people, and even in book 2 you're introduced to that there is like a different chosen one for a different task, and you're not sure who she's gonna be either, but you know that it's gonna be one of the girls that we know. I think that having that kind of twist on it makes it a little bit more interesting for me. The Dragon Reborn, it is the third book in the 14-book series of The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, eventually taken over by Brandon Sanderson, I believe, just for books 13 and 14. This is a fantasy series where we are following Rand and a few of his friends. An attack happens on their small village and this magical woman comes and saves them, and the catch is that these awful creatures are going to keep attacking that village because they're trying to kill one of either Rand or one of his two friends because they believe that one of them is the Dragon Reborn, which will help shape the future of this world and will help change the tides of the war. She takes them away because she isn't sure which one of them is actually the Dragon Reborn, and they go on this long journey to this magical place where they think that they will be able to be trained and taught and educated. I enjoyed book 1 a lot, and I surprisingly really enjoyed book 2 as well. There were moments in book 2 where it was a lot slower, and I definitely thought the pacing could have been picked up and that we didn't need so much world building. I felt that way in book 1 as well, but overall I'm really enjoying it, and I love how funny and humorous these books are, although there's a very dry sense of humor, and I really enjoy how strong and independent the women in this world are because the magic system is based all around gender, and unfortunately there are only 2 genders shown in these books, but the magic in this world is really only able to be used by women. For spells and incantations, I have to read either a short story or a short story collection. I am not a huge fan of short stories, but I've had my eye on a short story collection for a little bit now, and so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to pick it up from my library and give it a read. So I will have to go and get that book, but for the time being, the book is called New Suns, and I'm going to make sure I get this title correct here. It is called New Suns, Original Speculative Fiction by People of Color. And so it is a collection of short stories written by people of color. What really drew me to this was when I was doing my research into it, it was not just about one specific ethnicity, but from what I can tell, it has all different types of minorities and people of color contributing stories to this overall book. It is about 275 pages, so I'm not sure if I'm going to read like certain ones in the book and count whichever short stories I read towards the end goal, or if I'm going to try and read all of them. It's all going to depend on how I'm feeling as the month goes on, because short stories really, like I said, don't usually draw me in. Some of the people that have contributed to this story that I'm just going to mention a couple of random ones for you all really quickly are Rebecca Roanhorse, LeVar Burton, Tobias S. Buckle, Stephen Barnes, Chanel Onwulu, Jamae Go, E. Lily Yu, Karen Lo Achi, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and Darcy Little Badger. So this is going to be mostly stories following fantasy, sci-fi, or horror short stories about possible past, present, and futures of these different ethnicities and different stereotypes, cliches, and expectations of these groups. I'm really excited to pick this one up, and I hope that it is a major success for me and that I really enjoy at least a couple of these stories and continue on finding more works by some of these authors, some of which I have read before and some of which I have heard of but have never actually read something by. Up next, for psionics and divinations, I have to read a book set in the future, and so I'm hoping this counts because it's sci-fi and it is not in like our present timeline, but it's not our future, so I think it should count, if that makes sense. Like, it is a future. It's not present day, but it's not our future. We're never going to have this. Anyways, I'm going to be reading The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This is the sequel to The Bone Season, which I read in December and I really loved, and I've been meaning to pick this up for a while now, but I just have not had the time because it is decently a thick boy. In this world, clairvoyances are illegal, and Paige, our main character, is a clairvoyance, and at the beginning of the Bone Season, she is arrested for something going horribly wrong, and she's sent off to this prison place where she is supposed to try and escape, try to learn more about her clairvoyancy, because she does have a very rare type of clairvoyancy. Lots of people want to use her for that ability. I thought this book and this series series would actually be perfect for this because some of the things that take place in this series are very similar to things that my character will be doing on the path. So like dream walking is something that can happen here. And then also my character does have the ability to travel between worlds, which is something they haven't talked about here, but I wouldn't put it past being in this type of a work. And clairvoyancy seems very similar to a lot of the abilities that mindwalkers have here. So I'm very, very, very excited to be picking this up. It might be the next book I read. For Conjuration, I had to read a book with light on the cover, and for this I'm going to be reading Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. So about every 2 to 3 months I have a friend that we buddy read a Karen Slaughter book together. We've done a couple and we've really, really enjoyed her work so far, but we like to go into them completely blind. We know that Karen is going to provide, we know kind of the gist of what she is serving, and we just like to read them and weep heavily because her books are dark and are heavy and are just kind of a break from the fantasy that I am always reading. So I don't know what Pieces of Her is about. That's what I'm trying to say here. But I do know it'll probably have a crime in it. It'll probably be following 1 or 2 women who are investigating something crazy or weird or awful that a man did, and that is going to have lots of twists and turns, is going to be very dark, and probably going to have lots of gruesome, bloody, on-page scenes. I have read previously by Karen Slaughter Pretty Girls. I hate this. Colds make me brain dead. Pretty Girls. What was the other one? Oh, The Good Daughter. And then, oh my god, I literally just read it. False Witness, which was her newest book, and I heavily enjoyed all 3 of those. I also read one of her books from one of her series. Did not love that one, but I will be giving her series a second shot later at some point. Finally, the last book I have to read is for the class Lore, and in order to get this book I have to read something with a mythology retelling, and so I think I'm bending the rules slightly with this book, but I really don't like myth retellings, so I'm going to try it. And if you guys think it's horrible, let me know and I'll try to find something to replace it. But I think it's going to work. So for this, I am going to be reading The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. This doesn't come out until August of this year. I did get the arc of it from the publisher and I'm really excited to try it out. She has written a few other books, but the one I know by her is The Bone Houses, which I have not read. The reason why I'm thinking it's going to count for the mythology retelling is it's not actually a mythology retelling, but it is like a fairy tale style book, which takes a lot of inspiration from different fairy tales and different myths. And the actual beginning, the summary on Goodreads says, a magical ethereal fantasy from indie-bound bestselling author Emily Lloyd Jones. Once upon a time, the kingdom of Wales were rife with magic and conflict. So I know that it's going to be about like a real life setting, Wales, but as if it has magic in it. So I feel like that is kind of a myth, kind of a retelling, falls kind of in that category, even if it doesn't like encompass exactly what we're trying to get with this prompt. So we are going to be following an 18-year-old girl named Myr, I believe. It's short for Myriad. I don't know if that's actually how you're supposed to pronounce her name. So she is the last living water diviner. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm going to assume it means that she has some kind of control over the element of water. And she was in the servitude of the prince of this realm, and she somehow escaped and has been hunted by him her entire life as she was trying to get away from him. So it sounds like she is going to be tasked somehow to turn around and stop being chased by the prince and instead start going on the attack and start trying to bring him and the royal line down. Lots of things I love in this story. We've got some type of elemental magic. We've got a girl coming into her power. We've got evil royalty, and we've got a rebel cause trying to stop it. The summary on Goodreads is really long and I kind of feel like it has spoilers in it, so I don't recommend necessarily reading it. And since I haven't read the book yet, I don't know for sure, but it feels like it has spoilers to me. And it is marked on Goodreads as both a retelling and as a fantasy mythology. Once again, Goodreads is just gonna back me up on this one. Anyways, those are all the books that I plan to read for the Magical Readathon. I'll probably be reading other books and more during April and May because I do tend to read about 10 books a month. This is just my list for the readathon, and I'll try my darndest to get these read in April, but like I said, it's all just gonna kind of depend on a few factors, one of which is when my library holds can come in. So thank you all for watching. Let me know down below if you have a TBR for the Magical Readathon, what you're planning on reading. And I am so excited to be starting this readathon with you all. I think in 2 weeks from now on Monday, I will have my first reading vlog for the readathon. So if you want to stay tuned and watch that, be sure to subscribe and leave a like or come back to my channel later and see what's going on and how I feel about some of these books. You're all doing great. I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye!